Welcome everyone to our webinar, the undergraduate webinar. I'm Andrea Thomas and I'm the Assistant Dean of Undergraduate Studies here at the David Eccles School of Business. We're doing these webinars about once a month over the summer because we know there's lots of questions that come up, and so we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to ask questions. We're also recording this webinar so that we can post it on our website so that people can go back and watch it, and then we'll be taking the questions that you ask and we will be turning them into frequently asked questions on the website as well. So it's very helpful to have you just let us know what's on your mind so that we can make sure that we answer the questions you have. So there's a couple different ways to ask questions. If you look on your screen, you'll see something that just says Q&A. So you can go in there and you can type your questions, or you can go into the chat and type the questions there as well. So I'll be monitoring both. I'm going to start the webinar out just by giving you some information that I think you'll be interested in that might answer some of the questions, and then we'll just go straight into the Q&A part. So I want to tell you that we're very, very excited for fall semester. We are back in person in fall semester. And the university back during the beginning of summer semester transitioned to no masks. And so masks are not required. They are welcome. If you feel more comfortable wearing a mask, you absolutely can do that. But now that vaccines have been made available within the state of Utah, and anybody who wants a vaccine can readily get it, we have felt comfortable both by working with the state legislature, the governor's office, and then some of you may not know, but we are in the process of getting a new president of the university, and our interim president is Mike Good, and he is the CEO and dean of the medical school, and so very close to the pandemic and the risks and understanding of what keeps people safe with the pandemic. And so he's been very, very involved in the decision to move away from masks. It honestly was something that the state legislature looked at, and so it's come from the state government as well. So when you are able to come on campus, what you'll see is that you are able to freely walk about campus without a mask. And it's still pretty quiet this summer because most of the coursework is either IVC, which means that you go online during a particular time, or online, which means that it's a course that you can watch videos and participate that way. So most of summer semester is doing that. When we get into fall, about 75% of classes will be in person. You will know exactly if your class is in person or not based on your registration. If you look in the class schedule, there's different types of classes, and it will tell you what the format is. So if it's an in-person format, it will give you time and it will give you the classrooms. If it's an IVC format, it will give you the time and it will say Canvas. And if it's an online format, it will say online to it. And we have a mix. So in business core classes, they're mostly or like 75% in person, but there are opportunities to take IVC classes there. So if you have any concerns about being on campus, then you can put your schedule together and prioritize the IVC classes. But we're really excited to be back in person. We've been getting direction from Central, and there will be no social distancing. That's not something at the risk level of the pandemic that's required. So you will be able to go to classes and have the number in classes like we had before the pandemic. Housing is full for fall. There's a waiting list to get into housing for fall. There is not the same kind of social distancing requirements that there have been in the past. The state of Utah is actually doing very well with the pandemic, and we have we have a high number of people that are vaccinated, and they're encouraging as many people as feel comfortable to get vaccinated. So the risk level has decreased dramatically from where we were even last semester. So when you look at how do I participate, we have a place on our website where we aggregate all of the activities coming up. A lot of the activities will now be in person, but there's still going to be some online activities. What we found last year is, like, for example, with speakers, we have the ability to get more speakers from all over the world when we can do the Zoom speaker. So some activities will have virtual options, but some of them will be purely in person. So hopefully that answers some of your questions about what to expect this fall. All the dates and everything you need to know. If you're new to the U, you'll be getting some information in orientation, and hopefully everybody who's new, whether you're a transfer student or an incoming freshman, you have already signed up for your orientation classes, because you need to do orientation so that you can go ahead and build your schedule. And we've got 16 orientations planned throughout the summer. We've already had 5 of them. And so there's other opportunities for you to go ahead and sign up for an orientation. I will very quickly tell you about ECcles Global. So we've been working really hard to find places that are open for our students to travel with ECcles Global. So we're very excited to be back there. And so we've got a semester abroad in the fall that will be in London. And we've been watching closely. London should be opening up in July. And so we've got some students signed up, but there's still an opportunity if you're interested. And the courses for the London study abroad are the business core, business fundamental courses. So everybody needs to take those if you're a business major. And so it usually is the fall of your sophomore year that you take those classes. So those are the ones that are available. We also have put in extra 1-week trips because we couldn't travel at all last year. And so we wanted to give people opportunities to go ahead and travel with ECcles Global. So we've got, in the fall break, we've got 2 trips scheduled. One is to the United Arab Emirates for a big expo that they're doing. And travel is already open in the Emirates. And then there's a UE trip to Madrid, and so to Spain and one other country. There's an information session for that in coming up on Friday. So if you just go to the Eccles.utah.edu, you'll see the website of all the activities coming up. And then we've got trips for fall or for winter break, for spring break, for the break in between spring and summer. And then there's summer study abroad opportunities. And so we've been working hard, definitely planning and watching countries opening up. And so travel is now available. The University of Utah travel will be open after July 1st. And then we are anticipating that all travel within the states and international travel will be open for us all of the next academic year as well. So that's kind of a bit of a preview of what we've got planned, but I'm very, very happy to answer any questions that you might have. So as I mentioned, go ahead in the QA section and type your question in. Or if you are more comfortable in chat, you can type your question into chat as well. And then I know we've got several people from our staff on the call as well. And so if anybody from staff wants to make any announcements or wants to jump in and provide information, just let me know, message me, and I will bump you up to a presenter so that you can answer the questions or make any announcements that students would be interested in. So I'll just pause to give you a chance to ask questions. I know it's a little awkward to do it typing, but it's the best way in these webinars with the number of students that we typically have. While I'm waiting for you to type in your questions, we will be doing a webinar as well in July. And I'm not sure if we have the date set or not, so I'll let Sheena jump in if there's a date set already, or message me with that. But you'll get the information the way that you got the information here. So just for new students, something that's just a good trick to know is that we have a really awesome marketing and communications team. And so they aggregate all the information coming up and they put it in the on Eccles.utah.edu. And there's usually a tab for each semester. So there'll be a summer semester tab, a fall semester tab, and a winter or a spring semester tab. And that just shows you the calendar and aggregates everything. So the Wednesday, July 21st at noon is when our next webinar is. So if you think of questions that you have in the next webinar, you can email us ahead of time and let us know that, or you can wait and just come on that webinar. In addition, we will have, as school comes up, as people get on campus in the fall, the first week of classes, we're going to have an Eccles welcome for all new students on August 27th, and that's from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. So you will get a whole bunch of information as you come. So I've got some questions I'm going to look at. So will students continue to have access to Zoom Pro through the university in the fall? So the most things are going to be going live. There will be a few things that will that you can opt into. So I haven't heard from the university yet what they'll be doing as far as connectivity. So there's a Zoom version that's free that has some functionality, but not as much as Zoom Pro does. And so I think that it will look the same as it did in like 2019, but I am not sure. And what we can do is I can go and find that information, and then we'll post that in the frequently asked questions part of the website. And by the way, if you want to go to the upcoming events, you just do Eccles.utah.edu/upcoming-events, and that'll take you to that. So somebody has a question. I've got my orientation scheduled for tomorrow. Is that when I choose my classes? And will I be able to get advice on which classes I should take? The answer is yes. So in orientation, if you are signed up for the business orientation, you will be assigned an academic advisor, and they will talk you through business core and which classes you need to sign up for business core. They'll tell you about general education and how to look at those classes. And then that academic advisor is somebody that you will have access to going forward that can help you put together your whole plan for the 4 years that you're here. They won't do all of that during orientation because you care the most about getting set for fall, but you will start a relationship that will provide support to you for your whole time that you're here. So I've got somebody else who said they're scheduled for one of the last orientations. Should you be concerned about classes being full? So the required classes that you have for business, the B Core classes, those classes we save and release for each orientation. So you shouldn't worry about those classes, but there are some other classes, some of the general education classes that are released all in the beginning. Now they are planning for people coming and doing orientations and all of the orientations, but it is possible that some of the most popular general education classes will be full, but some other general education classes will be available. So you will be able to put a schedule together. It just might not be your favorite time or your favorite classes for some of the broader classes. But for the business core classes, we do schedule and release for each orientation so that you have access to those. So make sure that you type questions in if you have other questions. Let's see, there is a room for Eccles Welcome on August 27th at 1:30 is going to be in Child Hall. So Child Hall is on the 7th floor of the Spencer Fox Eccles Business Building. Most of the activities that we have for undergraduates are in Spencer Fox Eccles Business Building, abbreviated sometimes as SFE and sometimes as SFEBB. So you'll become very familiar with that building. You might also have classes in CRCC, and that's just right across the way from very close to the Eccles Business Building. You might have BUC, which is the business classroom, and that's also very close. And then there's a business building, the GARF building, where your career counselor will be in the GARF building on the first floor there. And then the other business building we have on campus is Lassonde, and that's where some of you will be living. And there's the Lassonde Studios is available to all students on the first floor. And that's if you have, if you want to tap into any of our entrepreneur programs at Lassonde, you can go there as a student. So those 5 buildings are the 5 business buildings we have on campus, and they're all pretty close to each other. So our incoming freshmen eligible for study abroad this fall. You are eligible for the trips, so you can do the fall break trip, and you can do the winter break trip and the spring break trip. But the classes that are being taught in London are business core classes that you need prerequisites for, and you'll be taking 3 of the prerequisites in the fall, and you'll be taking a couple of the prerequisites, like three or 4 more in the spring, and your academic advisor will help you with that. And then if you get through all those prerequisites, you will be able to take the full semester. Now, the study abroad in the summer that we have next summer, some of your prerequisites are actually going to be available in that study abroad, some of your business cores. And so you are absolutely eligible to go. You just need to make sure that you have the prereqs for the classes that you're signing up for in the study abroad programs. So you can actually go to eccles.utah.edu/Eccles abroad, or the Eccles, sorry, I blanked on what we call it, ECcles Global. So I'll say that again, www.eccles.utah.edu/Eccles Global. And Eccles is spelled ECCLES for you new students. You'll get very used to spelling that. And so you can go to the Eccles Global website, and they'll show you everything that we have available coming up for the next year. You also might want to plan to do a minor. So we do Eccles Global, we do some minors. So for example, we've got students this summer in our campus in Asia. So it's in Korea, and they're getting their minor of information systems there. So those are also some of the study abroad opportunities. So if you want to look in the chat, the Eccles Global Learning Abroad website is eccles.utah.edu/students/global/. So you can get to all of it from just eccles.utah.edu. If you get accepted into the Business Scholars Program, what will be the additional financial responsibilities? So it depends on which cohort you want in Business Scholars. We have 2 cohorts that are general cohorts. One is called Wasatch and one is called Uinta, and you will be assigned into one of those. Classes are on Friday mornings, and the fees, so you will be paying tuition for a $39.95 class, which is upper division tuition. So you'll be paying differential tuition for that class. And there's a $1,000 fee per semester to cover the travel for business scholars. And so when you applied to business scholars, you got a letter of acceptance, and then you got another email that asked you which cohort you want to be in. So you have a choice between the general cohort and the global cohort. The global cohort is going on international trips. And so that is also Friday mornings. The cohort is called Himalaya, and you have a $2,500 fee for fall and a $2,500 fee for spring, and your trips are going to be international trips. So you will be going to London and Paris during spring break as part of the fee. So your fees pay for that. You won't have to pay anything additional for that. And then you also have the leadership retreat is going to, you'll be traveling to that as well. So there's 2 trips in ECcles Global. And then there's also 2 trips for the cohorts, the Wasatch and Uinta cohorts, but those aren't international trips. One of those trips is going to be the leadership retreat down in Zion National Park. And then the other one is going to be a trip that you will fly to that will be in a city within the US. And so, the fees are different depending which one of those cohorts that you've signed up for. So I have another question. I've already had orientation and received who my business advisor will be. When and if I do find out who my business scholar advisor is. Okay, so in business scholars, we don't have advisors really. You'll get an academic advisor and you'll get a career advisor. You should have your academic advisor from orientation. You will get your career advisor through a B Corps class that you'll take the first semester. And then your business scholars ambassador, which is the student who is there for you for the whole first year, who gives you tons and tons of information. You will find out who your ambassador is when you come for orientation. You might get a text from them before that, but you'll definitely get to meet them at Business Scholars Orientation, which is the Friday before school starts. And school starts on the 23rd of August. And so the Business Scholars Orientation is the 20th of August. And really what that orientation is, you pick up your backpack, you get information, the syllabus, and then you're going to meet your ambassador. So that will happen before school starts. Okay, let's see. I'm looking. Okay, I think I've answered all of the questions that have come through the Q&A. If you have another question, feel free to just type it in. I'm looking at chat really quickly. And I think I've answered those questions as well. So if we don't get any other questions, oh, here's one. Will current transfer business scholars who didn't get to travel have that opportunity next year? So if you were, so last year we were not able to travel because of the pandemic, which was very unfortunate. And so what we did for those students who couldn't travel is we added trips. So we have international trips, but we can't go back and make up trips because we've got new people coming in. But there's always opportunities to travel through ECcles Global. There's also opportunities to travel through the Benyon Center. And so we adjusted fees last year so that you didn't pay for a trip that you didn't take. And so we're just offering other sorts of trips that you can sign up for to make up for that. And so there are no makeup trips, but there are new trips that people are eligible for. If you're going into Business Scholars this year, then we've got the trips and we're planning the trips, and you will be participating in those trips this year. And it was unfortunate and very frustrating not to be able to travel during the pandemic, but it just wasn't safe. But that doesn't mean that you've missed out on the opportunity to travel. We have a lot more trips than we usually have, especially 1 week trips than we usually have to give everybody the opportunity. And then as you're coming in as a business scholar or just coming into the Eccles School, you will have access to those trips for ECcles Global the whole 4 years that you're here. Study abroad, there's classes that you take, and so you'll have access to those classes. You just need to make sure that you're planning right for those, because you might not need a class, or you might have already taken a class that's offered in ECcles Global. But the 1 week trips aren't associated with classes that you need for credit, and so so you can go on as many of those as you want. Okay, another trip. Okay, so for transfer students, business scholars, if you have, it depends on how many credit hours you have coming in as a transfer student. So business scholars is available, and it's an exploration for students who don't know a lot about business, and you go in and you just figure out the business school and you figure out what business is about. And so if you are within your first like 30, if you're transferring with like 30, 40 credit hours, you absolutely can apply to business scholars still. And you can go on the Eccles site, and if you look at programs, you'll see business scholars as a program, and you can click into that and you can still apply. If you're like getting very close to starting on your major, we have a class called Transfer Scholars, and it's taught in the spring, and you can go on a trip. It's just 1 semester, not a full year. So it gives you different content because you are already into business. And so it's much more about teamwork and leadership. And then you do have the cohort experience, and you can travel. So you can apply to Transfer Scholars, which you can also get to on the tab for business scholars. So it just depends on how many credits you're transferring and how far along you are as to which one's going to be best for you. But feel free to reach out to our recruiters. So Elena Williamson, Sarah Krashilla, and Emily Saunders are just an awesome team there. And you can email if you go into Eccles.utah.edu/business scholars, you can type questions for them, or you can send emails to them, and they'll answer all those questions for you. So U of U student IDs, that's usually something that you pick up when you're here on campus. So that you upload a photo. During orientation, they'll tell you exactly how to get your student IDs, but it's something that they typically have you pick up when you get to campus. The orientation on August 20th that I mentioned is for business scholars. So it's an orientation to the Business Scholars Program. For those of you who aren't going to be business scholars, you're doing orientation now during the summer, and that's a University of Utah orientation. It also, if you sign up for the business one, you get oriented into business. And then there is a welcome event, which will give you more information on August 27th. That is at Child Hall, 1:30 to 3:30, and you're going to get some information there. For business scholars, if you've been accepted into the Business Scholars Program, then you will have an orientation on August 20th to the Business Scholars Program. The times are staggered, and so you'll be getting an email that will tell you what time your orientation is, and you'll be coming on Friday morning for that. I do want to tell you that email is a prime way that we communicate. Canvas is a way that you get communicated to about all of your classes, but your email is just your UNID, your university ID at utah.edu. And hopefully you're used to going into your email because you used it to sign up for orientation and to get information about orientation. But check your email because that's where you get information communicated to you. Okay, let's see. Okay, when can we expect out-of-state students on the wait list for housing to get assigned? Are they opening a certain number of slots per week? We're getting nervous about our student not having housing. Okay, so the way that housing works and the way that they process the waiting list to housing, there is no timetable for that. They haven't held any rooms back. People's plans change, and they are looking at converting some adding to housing. For example, we have a university house that sometimes they use for housing. Sometimes they'll take some of the larger rooms and they'll add another bed into some of the larger rooms. And so those are things that they're working on now, and they will release those positions as they come available. And so if you're number 997 on the 1,000 people that are on housing or whatever that ends up being, you should also look for other options. So the one nice thing about being having our campus be in Salt Lake City, Utah, is we're very connected and very close to a lot of other housing options that are just right off of campus, pretty close off of campus. And so those are available and are posted. And so if you go to the housing website, then they give you other ideas of other places to look for housing, and you might try to kind of dual path and kind of look for both. But they will work as much of the housing list as they possibly can. They will be working that, and they are looking at putting in as much housing as we can possibly get. So so that's kind of where to think about housing. They definitely don't hold back slots every week. They're just waiting for students to make decisions and to, if you're signed up for housing and then you find a really awesome apartment with your friends, then you're going to drop housing, and that opens that up for another student. Students are able to move into campus. I believe you're assigned a day to move into campus, and it's going to be like the Wednesday or Thursday before classes start. So it's that week. It's the like I said, classes start on the 23rd. So it's going to be the 18th and the 19th that you're going to sign in, and you'll be told what your move-in date is by the housing folks. And so, but it is just a few days before classes start. Okay, we got a great question about computers. What kind of computer do business scholars need, Apple versus whatever? So you're going to use the same computer, hopefully all 4 years, and you do get a discount, I believe, at the bookstore. There's the endless debate of Apple versus PC. And what I will tell you is, if you are going into a quantitative major like finance, not all of the spreadsheet functionality on Excel works on an Apple format. So it is going to be harder for you to do everything you need to do in like information systems and very quantitative like finance. And so you may need a different kind of computer. The finance department recommends that you get a PC instead of an Apple computer just because of the software that's available. We, the business school, don't tell you what computer to get. You will be choosing what works best for you. And so that's the only caveat that I have for you is if you need to use spreadsheets a lot, the Excel functionality on Apple, whatever the equivalent or the plugins, just don't work as well. And so, but you can choose whatever kind of computer that you want for pretty much everything else. Let's see. Okay, Business Scholars Orientation, that email should go out sometime in August, your exact date. So what's happening right now is you're getting assigned to a section, and we can't assign people to a section until they go through orientation. So that's why we're kind of held back from giving you specific information until after we can assign you to a section. And so we just wait until everybody's been through orientation. And Tara, can you message me when the last orientation is? It's usually the end of July or the very first day or two of August. And then after everybody's through orientation, then you'll be getting communication of, you'll be added to your Business Scholar section, and then we can tell you what time your orientation is. So just save Friday morning, August 20th, save till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 to 2 in the afternoon, and then you'll be getting a shorter time slot within that time frame as soon as everybody's been through orientation. Okay. And then the August 5th is the last session of orientation for transfers and first years. So by August 5th, everybody will be through orientation, and then we'll start being able to communicate to everybody the way we want. If everybody's not signed in when we send the communication out, we have to batch it and everything, and it just gets confusing, and there's a lot more room for error. And so that's why we'll communicate your exact date after everyone's through orientation. Is there a way for new incoming students who need off-campus housing to meet each other? Housing does have social media groups that you can go to. Is there anybody? So here's what I'm going to do. Our next communication, our next webinar is going to be July 21st. I will have somebody from housing on that one. In the meantime, you don't have to wait till July 21st. In the meantime, just send an email to the housing contact. You've been communicating with them. You can go on the University of Utah housing website, and they'll give you that information, and they will let you know what communication methods they have. But they do social media. I know they have Facebook groups. They have other different kinds of groups that get people together so that they can hear about, like if you were renting a room out for students, you would get on those sites as well. So a lot of it is done through social media, and that information is going to be on the housing site. Sorry, I don't know a lot more. That's done on the university level. And so, so that's why the business school isn't as close. Although we do have housing with Lassonde, I do get some information on that, but the specifics of housing, you should be able to go to the website and communicate with them. So you should know, I have a question. If you sign up for housing on a particular date, you should know if you're on the wait list or not. And so, so that's something that, depending on where you are on the wait list, that will tell you what you will hear. If you haven't been given, like if you weren't given a date to go in and sign up for and choose your room, then you're on the wait list. And then you're going to be told on the wait list, depending on the order that you're on the wait list, when things open up. So that's how housing works. And I know it's really frustrating, and I'm sorry for that. There's a lot of demand for housing, which is why we always tell people to sign up as soon as you possibly can. And housing is working really, really hard to get as many places as we possibly can for students. Okay, so off-campus housing info, and thank you for folks helping me on the chat. I've got some staff behind the scenes to give us information. There's www.offcampushousing.utah.edu/ that is where the off-campus housing information is. And that's where you can go, and they'll let you know what's available and where to find roommates and those types of things. And then let's see, they've got find a roommate that you can click into to help you there. And Sheena sent it out to everybody in the chat. So you should be able to go to the chat and be able to see the link to go to off-campus housing. Okay, so IB Diploma, the question is, does an IB Diploma do anything for Business Scholars Program? So what IB does is it's part of the academic records you come in with, and some students will have taken AP classes or IB classes or concurrent enrollment classes. So all of those classes get put into your degree audit, and the registrar will let you know if it waives any of your general education classes. Business Scholars is not a general education class. Our business core for the business school, IB doesn't waive any of that. But it could waive some of the general education classes. So your academic advisor can tell you exactly what you need, because all of that it flows into your academic record, but it won't change anything for B Core or for Business Scholars. Okay. In business, so the question is, do you recommend a BA or a BS in business? We actually offer business degrees in either BA or BS, so it depends on if you have a language or not. I will tell you that business is getting more and more quantitative, and so taking more of the quantitative general education classes that are required in a BS is really smart for you. A lot of those you might get with your major, depending on which major in business that you're majoring in. And so if I didn't already have a language, then, you know, I would look seriously at a BS because of the quantitative requirements for a BS, but you can also get a BA and take those quantitative classes. So it's really up to you. And that's why we offer both a BA and a BS in business degrees. It doesn't change really what classes you need to take for your major. It changes what general education classes that you take. Okay, excellent. There was a link that was sent out for admissions.utah.edu, and it's kind of a long equivalence for public release, but that link tells you how IB classes apply to the university. So you can see it in the chat right there. If you need to go look for it, you can get it on the admissions.utah.edu site, and then you can search for it. And that can help give you that information. I will tell you the university, so utah.edu and Eccles.utah.edu have tons of information on them. So it's really good to familiarize yourself with what's on the website. In addition, it gives you the opportunity to chat with people. And so if you have a question for academic advising or for the Career Center or for Business Scholars, then it gives you an opportunity to click into that and ask questions and chat with folks as well. So, so it's really good to just get familiar with the websites. Okay, so I think that we have answered all the questions that we've had. We're going to give you another shot to ask us questions on July 21st. We are going to post this. Also look at the FAQ section of the Eccles.utah.edu site, because as we get questions just emailed or through the chat, if we think it's something that would be useful for everybody, we just update those. And so that's a really great place to look to get all your questions answered. And then there's always email. People are here and it's great to send emails to people. We are here to help you. We're so excited to have you here on campus in the fall. And, you know, we're all here and very passionate about an education at the University of Utah. I will tell you, sports is back, football will be back, the MUS is back. There's no restrictions on a number of people going to football games. So this fall, it will feel like, you know, we're back in as normal as we can be in this particular point in time. Always, you should do what makes you feel comfortable, definitely. But the nice thing about the University of Utah, as I mentioned before, we have a world-class medical facility here that is extremely integrated into the university. And so any information that you need, our clinics are fantastic. And so, this is a really, really great place to be. And in the fall, I think I'm excited the energy you will feel. It's just, we're all very excited and anxiously awaiting your arrival. So looking forward to seeing you all in the fall. I'll see you again on the 21st of July if you have other questions. And in the meantime, have a really fabulous summer. Thanks.